I don't know. I haven't done anything. Let me just check the quality. Yeah, I can change it to 30 FPS and that's about it. Okay, so where we are, guys. Now that you interrupted me, I forgot what I was going to say. Let me just make this bigger. Yeah, alright. Yeah, so most of you at the point where you joined us were at ability to get a full 50-man KDS roster. We've been having a lot of recruitment and we've been having a lot of wars and a lot of PvP activity. We gotta say there's a lot of movement, okay, in terms of the roster. There's people coming, people going. It's always a little bit like this, and at the moment we're at the phase where we had a lot of wars recently, and it's always a little bit where people get fatigued or they feel like they need something to happen, right? Whether it's a break, whether it's to do something else, whether it's to move on. But in terms of where we are, the fairest thing to do is first of all go through the roster. Okay, so as you can see from looking at our roster, we only have 2 permanent teams. Okay, so out of our whole roster, we have groups 4 and 5, and these teams are pretty much our permanent teams. And what I mean by permanent is that these people virtually come to every single war. Okay, it's pretty rare, like Vortex, for example, didn't make it once or something, but generally speaking, and Scottish Noobs as well, right? But generally speaking, this is more or less our most reliable 2 teams, okay? The teams where we're struggling most are actually our point groups, okay? So there's been a few dropouts due to inactivity, and these have been Taranor in Group 1 and MDZ, who was the Bruiser. In Group 2 there was a dropout of Vagabond, and Frank, he kindly agreed to start leading another group and try to improve the communication there. Group 3 lost Obi and then lost Gino. Okay, so there's a vacant spot there. Otherwise it's pretty stable. Nias cannot always log in, so at least 50% of the time I need to find another healer. Group 6 has been on and off, so we had Khan in there, left the company yesterday, and we had Marky there, who left about 6 days ago. And we had no healer. Group 7 lost Cemetery, and I think there was another bruiser there, I don't remember who. And Group 8 and 9 is actually pretty good. They log in most of the wars, but it's not really set up, and the communications are not great. People don't practice together very much, so it's very, very patchy. So groups 8 and 9 at the moment are probably our weakest, followed by groups 6 and 7, and groups 1 and 2. Okay, so as you can see, it's like six groups are really not very good, or they're not functional groups. Group 10, we lost Cappy, who's decided he likes too much, so he cannot do wars, and we've lost Hitorius. Oh yeah, Group 7 was Cemetery there as a healer. So as you can tell, we probably lost due to inactivity 5 to 10 people. Volkan, he's inactive, he had to go back to the army. So that's where we are. Okay, a lot of the people who are not on the spreadsheet are not here because either they haven't filled in the spreadsheet or they don't play often enough with us. Okay, that means they don't do regularly OPRs, they don't practice with us. It's kind of not a stable sort of setup that way. So the issue we've had for a long time is the fact that I always prioritize KDS members, and unfortunately when people drop out, it's difficult to fit in new people who are just as good or better than them. Okay, so the natural thing to do is really to try to consolidate this roster. So realistically, if I would combine everything and put the best players that we possibly have, we'd probably fill 6 groups, okay? And then I would need to find 3 to 4 groups from other companies that could help in our wars, okay? And realistically, what that means is that we're going to do lots of attacks, and we might not be able to do defenses until we get some more recruits. Tammy has been doing a great job with recruiting, and I've been helping a little bit, and I know some other people have tried as well. Obviously New World doesn't have an unlimited number of new recruits. It's mostly people who are floating about, either because the company's dead or they want to go a bit more casual, or people who are not really PvPers, or they haven't PvP'd before, or the experience is limited. We don't have a lot of people from fresh start servers at the moment coming over, and we don't have a lot of people who are coming from inactivity. Maybe next season this will change a little bit, but that's where we are with the roster. Any questions on this, guys? Okay, so the other thing on this bugged again. The other thing, Sanglant was messaging me a little bit about this roster, and basically he was making some suggestions, and it's something I'm gonna look at a bit more carefully. So he was saying that other companies are not using Ice Spear as much, and we're lacking killing potential. So he was making some suggestions, and he was saying everybody in T-Baguettes and Unleash, they run medium, they don't run light. We need a bow group, yeah. So things which are pretty common sense. Drop fire staffs IG, except maybe 1 and 2. IGBB are better options. Yeah, so I kind of agree, right? So I think all in all, there's a few things, right? So we kind of had to accommodate a little bit what people play. So, you know, in terms of how many fire staffs we have, you know, we have an abundance of fire staffs. We don't have as many Hunter Dex players at the moment. We had a huge amount, and then people realized that we can't run that many, so a lot of people rebranded and are playing Bruiser, which is super helpful. You know, Gaming Ace is one of them. Marco Polo, when he's active, he did the same. Okay, so that's where we are, okay, with the rosters. So let's go through some of the videos. I'm gonna try to go in chronological order with all the wars, and move forward from there. Okay. So remember, this is mostly about how the army performs and how we're able to do the strategy. I'm not gonna focus too much on personal performance. I think we're gonna start doing that from tomorrow in our coaching sessions. So this is the attack against Ascend. I don't remember the exact date, a week ago, so. Yeah, I mean, we can do. Can you hear the comms? Okay, I mean, it's probably easier if we run it without comms then, because if we run with comms, I need to share the window, and then I can't draw anything. You can't see what I'm gonna explain. I still remember my comms, to be honest, because it's always the same kind of comms. Yeah, hit them hard, hit them hard. Okay, yeah, Roger command. So this is against Ascend, right? So just to give people an idea, I think overall we're performing pretty well in attacks against Ascend, but they're not contesting the point, right? So you can see they're stopping along this line, and they're trying a bit of pushing here on the road, okay? And for us, it's very simple to counter that, okay? We just put more teams here on the road, and overall we're performing that pretty well. but we're not really killing them and they're not killing us. So it's more of a harassment kind of thing. Yeah, the one thing I want to say, and I noticed this in their attack as well, we are compensating on the road. I'm putting 4 teams now on the road and back right of the point, but a lot of the times people tend to fall back a little bit too much, which makes this area pretty exposed. So I know it's tough, but those groups which will be there, you need to really try to hold the line here, right? You cannot fall back. You can see where virtually all of us are. You basically fell back to the back left of the point, for example, in this engagement. So basically getting pushed a bit too hard. Okay, we should be able to hold our ground a bit better. And it might have to do maybe with composition, but 3, 4, 7, 8, and 3, 4 have 2 bruisers in each. 7, 8, they have 2 and 1 bruisers, I think, generally speaking. So we should have 7 bruisers. 7 bruisers we should be able to hold. Well, there you go. So we have like 8 plus bruisers. So we should be a little bit better in holding that line. Obviously don't clump, but just hold them with CC. For sure. Okay, not a lot to say. I mean, this is Romicio's point of view, right? So he's a point healer, and all in all, I mean, in this particular attack, I think it's not bad, right? The one thing which I like, so you can see everybody more or less moved towards the area where they're supposed to be, in terms of the quadrant. What I like is as well the groups from the road are relatively close to the point. Maybe these guys are a bit too far, but basically I would want everybody from those groups to protect this area. But sometimes it can be difficult, right? Because they will try to outflank you. So sometimes you need to spread along this line. But yeah, let's keep watching. Yeah, so you can see they're flanking us. They're trying to outflank us. But this is good, right? Because we bring the fight to the point, and that's where you want to fight whenever you're the attacker. So you see virtually everybody's close to the point, and whoever isn't dies. Okay, and that's kind of the rule. If you're not close to the point, you're gonna get picked off. So as an attacker, we just have to be close to the point. It doesn't matter if you're a healer. Like look at Bilaz. He's in a perfect position. I mean, he'll get a bit harassed. I don't know if this is Clev's, but hopefully they will get a little bit of help from somebody. Let's keep watching. No, they will get killed. Right, so we didn't have control in that quadrant really. So yeah. So we're close to the point for sure. But yeah, we need a bit better control. Like you can see here, there's no control. Here it's kind of okay-ish, but not quite enough. And I think we lost a bunch of people in this engagement as well, so it made it more difficult. You can see instant gas mask, Scottish noobs, so yeah. So in this particular war, this was really good. So we kept pressure on B all along, and our respawn wave, it wasn't a lot of pressure, but we still had presence, right? So they couldn't really leave that point. And our respawns basically just reinforced whoever was still left. And all of a sudden we got a good wipe, and before you knew it, we had a lot of good pressure on the point itself. Gonna skip a bit through this because it can get a little bit boring just watching a healer. But basically we keep this pressure and we win the point. On A, very similar. The only difference on A is we got a lot better control here, bottom of the point. Top of the point we had virtually no control. So we got control straight away on the point and back left and back right of the point. And at this point I called people to push top right just because that's where the healers were. So I think the 3, 4, 7, 8 controlled well the quadrant, and they moved on to the healers and they put some pressure. While the top point groups, they just kept pressure at top of the point, or enough to prevent those guys from pushing out. I really liked that cannon. I don't know if you guys spotted it. There was a cannon here. That was really good. Whoever put it there. Because that's super helpful. That kind of creates an extra obstacle if they want to push in that choke. And gives our healers a bit more protection in that area. Ideally we should have more cannons. There should be something like here. Something like here. But this one is really good, right? Because if they would have archers or bows up here on top, it would give you a bit of protection so you can hide behind it. And this is what I mean by our fire mages and healers should place cannons. Yeah, the only thing I would say is the back right groups, so 3, 4, 7, 8, there should be a bit more control or a bit more pressure on those bowmen. They're free casting there. All in all, I mean, we won the point, right? So we did something good. I think the way we won this is we stepped on the point and we were getting lots of heals. So our healers basically positioned themselves more or less along this line and somewhere here, and they were not pressured, right? So they could just heal the point, and we had more presence on the point, and that's how we won it. Okay, but you know, we're just a little bit lucky as well because they put their bows and healers on the other side, and they were free casting as well. So I would say that whoever's at the bottom of the point and even on the right side of the point, you should try to at least throw your PODs onto those guys, if nothing else. I'm gonna skip through his respawn. We what? Yeah. So I mean, the only thing I would say is, ideally, what should happen, right? At the fourth phase, at this stage, right? So we more or less pushed as a whole army, okay, and the enemies, some of them are fighting outside, some of them want to push inside, and some of them are at the top, okay. So ideally what we should accomplish in this first engage, right? We have the momentum, we have most of our guys, we got fresh respawns straight from the flag that we captured, okay. So ideally what we should do is we should try to clean up virtually everybody here who's outside. Our range guys should be hitting on top, okay. So you create as much pressure here as possible, and once you get control of this gate, then we move on. I think in retrospect we move on a little bit too quickly, and I make that call a bit too quickly, and we don't really have pressure there. So the danger with that is if we start to rotate too quickly, all our guys who are supposed to be on this gate, they get outnumbered straight away because we basically leave them. So it's not ideal. So in future, I think there will be a lot more emphasis on that. Okay, I'm just gonna let this play. I'll be back in 2 seconds. So yeah, the only thing I would say is on this gate, we need more cannons than one. So it should be like 3 or 4 cannons. And virtually, if you're anything but a bruiser or healer, you should be really on those cannons, especially if they push out. So especially if they are here in the gate, you know, it's like such a massive impact if 3 or 4 cannons hit them, just constantly CC them. Yeah, I think at this stage we've sent 2 teams to go to the left gate, and that's why you can see we're not that many. Yeah, so that's kind of the issue we had both in the attack, and I'm going to show the defense as well, that we had against Ascent. So one of our gates is usually pretty weak because we have like groups 7, 8 or 9 who are not particularly formed, rehearsed. I mean 7 is better, but 8 and 9 they are usually our weakest teams, and you know they go to one gate, and you know if they constantly wipe or they don't make it to the gate, or only like 3 out of 15 people make it, it's going to be really tough. And at the moment we're sending 1, 2, 3, 4 on B gate. Like I said, 1 and 2 are not great teams right now, but 3 and 4 are pretty good teams. They're our best 2 teams, and 5. So the question is, should we split and send for example group 3 to one gate, group 4 on the other gate, just to more or less like carry that gate and be able to just carry those people and sort of call it out if they're not there, because half of the problem is the people are not grouping up to be efficient at the gate. Okay, so there's no point being close to the gate here, you know, when they can just push out on you, jump down on you. If you're not really formed up, okay, it's really bad idea to fight there outnumbered. Like even now, you see, we shouldn't really take these fights. If anything, here we should be falling back and trying to pull them out, and perhaps get a rotation from one of the other gates. Okay, so the way to deal with this, at the moment, or in the last wars, what we've been saying is, okay, if they push you, just pull back all the way to the point if you have to, which is not particularly great. Normally, the best way to deal with it is, let's say they're pushing us, 1 and 2 is here on B gate, and they're pushing us with 20 people, okay, so twice our numbers. So at this stage, all we would have to do is hold them, okay, so just CC them, try to survive, and ask for a rotation to come, if not even 2 rotations, and just rotate with everybody and wipe them quickly. Because, you know, imagine we can kill 10 to 15 people in this one engagement, and we can do that. That's a huge win. That's a huge win, especially if you kill them after respawn timer hits. So in future, you know, we might do things like that, but for that, everybody kind of needs to be really responsive to basically answer to the call, you know, move in the right direction, move with their team, you know, make sure they're grouped up and so forth. You know, don't waste time still hitting the 2 targets on the other gate. Yeah, so here we got groups 3 and 4 to rejoin us, and you can see the difference in the pressure, right? Kind of pressuring them, we're kind of hitting them on the gates. Here the issue we were having as an army is I wasn't getting enough feedback from the other gates. Like gate A, so the left gate was really struggling. And basically I wasn't getting enough feedback whether we're ready to push in together. So the only reason to fight like this, the way we do right now at the attack phase, is if we can coordinate with the other gates. Okay, if we can't, then the best thing is to do rotations between the gates, like I explained earlier, right? So if they push out, you call people from the other gates and try to overpower them at one gate, and then you push in as one Zerg. So that's something we might do in the future to try to compensate for the lack of pressure on all the gates. You can see pretty easy the way we pushed in. You know, it wasn't. We just kept pushing them back, and when we saw an opening, we went straight to the point. And this was really good pressure. The only thing I would say is at this phase, so I think we stepped a bit too much on the point itself. It can be good and it can be bad. Okay, if everybody who pushes in just stays on the point and they position themselves around the point, they can just bomb it. Okay, so it's not, you know, they will basically create more damage, and they're going to kill as many as they can. The pro of pushing onto the point is you get it ticking, so that means people from the other gates start to run towards the point. So that means there's an opening there. So my job, for example, as a shot caller, is to recognize that. So when I see people from the side gate starting to come over, that's when I say, okay, step off the point or kill around the point. Alright, so when you hear that, that's why I make that call. So you kind of need to follow up on that. There's no point sitting on the point. Most likely you're going to get wiped or bombed. Okay, so that's the rationale. The issue with this particular thing, you have a very with this particular strategy, you have a very narrow window of opportunity. You know, to basically put some pressure, but then move straight out and start killing around the point. The other thing we could do is push straight in and start killing around the point only, okay, and you leave the point more or less empty. Okay, so you focus kills around the point and you just put pressure on the other people. Good places to kill people are the back of the point. Okay, there's always healers and mages and stuff there, and there's some here on the ramps, you can see them. Okay, so those are always good places, and as well the sides. Okay, the point is actually where the tankiest boys are, so those are the ones you want to kill last. So as an army, that's another thing we could do when we manage to do a full push on B like this, when most of us are making it in. We should try to kill, you know, the priority targets in this, and ideally we should try to kill them once the respawn timer hits, so it hurts them even more. Yeah, but in order to do that, our healers need to be able to push in, right? So if the healers just stay in the gate like you just saw, they can only heal the point really. Just checking if people can still hear me. Yeah, okay. Mm. And I think one of the mistakes. So the reason why we couldn't push it to the back gates, they said there were too many bruisers protecting the back gates. So basically, our dex players couldn't push through, which is kind of like okay. That makes it a little bit difficult, right? Who should we put on the back? You know, should we have different teams? Yeah. So we'll have to think about that. But yeah, you're right. I think the mistake we do really in terms of this particular push, as you saw on B, is as an army we try to hit the tankiest boys first, okay, and you don't really create pressure like that unless you can wipe them, okay, and realistically that's probably the hardest sort of engage you can pull off, you know, to kill all the tanks. You know, you kind of need a really well coordinated. The healers need to be asleep or pressured, so it kind of needs to be, you know, very well coordinated. The more realistic way to put pressure is, like I said before, to try to spread on the flanks here and try to kill those guys. You know, you try to get the easy targets, okay, you need to kill those, and then, you know, when I hear that the respawn time is hitting, then we coordinate a big bomb, okay, to try to get as many wipes as we can when the timer hits, so it hurts them. But there's a lot more pressure to be made around the point, which I think we're missing on when it comes to the fourth phase. Yeah, I mean, this is the part which I didn't understand. Maybe somebody from those groups can say what happened. Somebody's from Tammy group? Yes, we can hear you, Cappy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw. Oh, I understand. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's like a barricade. Yeah, it's good to know. I mean, the only other thing you can do, right? If you notice that kind of stuff, right? So they put the kegs probably here on this stairs and here on this stairs, right? On the back. So then the only thing you can do is follow these stairs and try to come to the main area, to the courtyard, and try to fight a little bit on the flanks. Because basically, if they have the assassins just waiting for you with a bruiser on the back ramps and they see you stuck on those stairs, you're gonna die one by one, and probably that's what they were trying. Mm-hmm. Yeah. actually did it too, but she wanted twice more to go on the tour. Sorry, I'm back. Yeah. So what can we do to improve that on the back gate, the play? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, both teams have people who can play bruisers in them. So, any other suggestions for that back gate play? Yeah. I mean, should we have a hunter group? That's the first question. You know. No, I mean at the back gate. I mean at the back gate. But we did, right? So we spoke with this about this particular war when we got through B, and the point take to 25%. Okay. Yeah, I mean, let's go back. It's probably not the best POV that we're looking at, Rios, but like here, right? So if we play it from here, you can see we have some really good pressure, and you can see two people here, which are pushing through. I'm not sure who it is. Oh yeah, it's you, right? So my question is, right, in this specific play, right, we got some pressure. Yeah, granted, the side points didn't really make it through, right? So I probably didn't make it through, and the right gate didn't come through either very well. But there's still pressure, right? So you kind of have 6 enemies on the back. Maybe there's a couple more here. So, oh, okay. So you know, is it the best place for the hunter groups to be, right? Because if I send teams that we put on the left and right gate, mm-hmm. You rotate them, yeah, okay. Yeah. Yeah, but if you think about it, they have a pretty good setup to protect that, right? So if they have like 3 mages, the mages can just bomb the point, right? And all they need is 1 bruiser or 1 IGVG to stop the gate, and then call his team to bomb that gate. Okay, and that's gonna suck ball for whoever tries to push through. So that's why I think it's very difficult. If I put a hunter group, they're not going to do that well, especially with the keg situations here. But if I put a normal group, so let's say I send group 6, for example, or 7, I think they're going to run into the same problem. So their setup to try to defend that is pretty good, because they don't need to consume a lot of energy to do it. They literally need one person to watch the gate, and then everybody else can just bomb the point or whatever. I think the only way to go about that is what I've said earlier. So when we push in, we try with the main army that manages to push through to kill here around the point. So on the flanks, on the back, and on the back ramp. Okay, and if you can put pressure in those areas and virtually ignore the people who are on the point itself, then it might be easier for the back groups to push through. But yeah. Yeah, so there's two ways about it, right? So if we're able to put pressure on the side gates and push together, amazing, right? But at the moment we're not. So some of it might be communication, like Instant said, but some of it might be simply that they're stronger on those gates, right? And they simply beat you. Okay, but and this is what I was saying earlier, right? There's two ways about it, right? So if you win and push in, great, super amazing, right? But if you don't, then it's much better to redirect those groups, right? So if you know you're fighting on A and C and you're losing, and you know B is clear to push through, those groups can use haste spots and just come straight to B, because you know you can get in for free, right? It takes a little bit more time, but at the moment it takes time to push through the sides anyway, right? You kind of, at the moment we're waiting for pressure on the point to take, the enemies to move away from their gates, and then you push in. So that takes time too. If you can just, you know, do the rotation, that could work really well as well. The problem with the rotation is that you put a lot of pressure on the people who pushed in, right? Because, you know, if we position ourselves like this in the back and around the point and whatever, literally their whole army, so 50 people, will all turn on us. And somehow you need to survive enough until your reinforcements come through the door. Okay, so yeah, it could work, right? Because 1, 2 should be tanky, and we're gonna build them up again. And 3 and 4 are some of our best groups. So in theory it should work, but we need to know, you know, in these groups that this is our role, right? Our role is not to wipe the point at that stage. Our role is to put pressure around the point and survive, okay, up until the reinforcements arrive. Let me, there's one more sentence. The only thing with this is that if we do something like that, we need to be careful, because they can still close the door here behind us, right? So if we position ourselves here and here, all they need is a couple of ice players and they can stop our reinforcements. That's why cannons are super helpful, right? Because with the cannons you can just shoot on the point itself. Okay, go copy. Okay. Yeah, it could work. Yeah. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, for sure. And I like where this is going. So clearly, it would be something. I mean, the other thing, I don't know whether it was Remy or Gumi. I still don't recognize your voice. Who said, "Oh, you should rotate the Dex teams in the back and then in the front." I think they're kind of expecting that, and this kind of counters it anyway, right? Because if you rotate to the front, I mean, the front A and C needs to have enough pressure for you to be able to push through, right? If you're kind of dying on those gates, it doesn't matter if you rotate in the front. And in the back, they're just waiting, right? And like I said, for them, it's very little resource consumption. They're literally consuming one bruiser per gate, and all the mages are just shooting in the courtyard, right? So they're getting a lot of value from that particular trade. So that could work well. The question is, yeah, you put the bows here on B gate, but how about the rest? How about the great swords? How about, I mean, are you guys confident you can push through? Anybody else from the hunter groups? No, no. I mean, this is the easiest gate to push. That's why we put our best teams there. So you think it would be easy for you guys to push B? No, I'm just asking. I'm just asking for opinions, and feedback. You were left gate, whatever AAC, whatever it's called. Did they have kegs on the front stairs as well? Okay. And front. Okay, so the bottom line is, where should group 5 and 10 be in our next attack? Should we go through B or through the side gates? I mean, at the moment, I don't have a lot of confidence that we can pressure 3 gates, okay? So, I think with the current setup, Yeah, suggestion. That's okay. Um, no, I understand how it should work, right? But sometimes it doesn't, right? For whatever reason, right? So let's say you have 3 teams on the right gate, and like here, and they have 4. You know, whatever the reason, or our teams are not as good, or people, I don't know. Let's just assume we cannot put pressure. You know, in my mind, it's worth trying to keep a couple of people here, just so the enemies don't move out, and then rotate the main force through the gate that opened. You know, it could be one of the side gates that's freely to push. Then we can just all rotate through there, because ultimately the goal is to get inside the fort and put pressure here, right? It's not only about the pressure on the gates. So sometimes it's more valuable to just, you know, keep them busy at the gate rather than be able to put actual pressure to be able to push in through those gates. That's how I see it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that's the current strategy. So the current strategy is to push in through B gates, put pressure here, so the enemy is pulled back here, and the side gates can follow through. But what happens is sometimes they push out and they wipe one of our gates, right? So that means automatically the enemies from that gate are coming straight to the point. So it's kind of, we're in a situation where, let's say we're able to push through one of the gates, usually B because it's easiest to push through, but because we lost pressure completely or got wiped on one of the gates, that puts us as a great disadvantage. So, you know, if something like that happens, I'd much rather, if B gate is open, people respawn who wiped on B and just try to make it through to the open gate. So it's almost like calling, okay, B gate is open, or I don't know, A gate is open, sorry, C gate is open here. So we all try to go in through there, because ultimately the goal is to get as many people inside as possible and keep the pressure inside. You know, we don't want pressure outside. They want us to fight outside if they can. That's why a lot of teams push aggressively outside. You know, that's great for them. If they can just fight here, it's great. You know, the point is not pressured at all. And I think that's where we need to be a little bit smarter about this. But in order for that to work, I need feedback from the side gates. You know, there's absolutely no way for me to understand what's happening from the side gates. And that's why I'm kind of debating whether some of the teams which are more vocal should go to the side gates, and some more sort of cannon fodder groups should come to the B gate. But that clearly is a disadvantage as well, right? Because you're not pushing with a very good force through the B gate. Yeah, they're not permanent, or they don't necessarily have the best builds, or they don't talk, right? So, for example, in 8 and 9, in 7 is not that bad since Super Frank is there, but you know, all those groups, they kind of have people who just don't communicate, you know, and I think it's super hard that way. And those teams, I'm pretty sure most of the times they don't even know where the team is or where the teammates are. So we kind of need to be realistic about this, so people understand. I can put on this map and it looks great. We have 3 teams there, but the quality of those teams, it's a bit like the Russian volunteers that they get no training and they get sent on the front, of the war. It's not going to be great, right? But if you're a paratrooper, you're going to do a lot better. So it's a little bit like that. It doesn't mean that the players don't have potential. It's just they don't use their potential. That's all I'm trying to say. Yeah, exactly. As a group, as individuals, there are good individuals there, but as groups, they're probably the most underperforming groups. And it's been great since, right? Good. Anything else about this particular point? Yeah, hello? Are you okay, Naz? There was a lot of excitement in that. Anyway, Rio, I think I sent him here. He was with Naz as well, and you guys were helping on the left gate. And you can see, like, they're just free casting from top here, and we have virtually no answer. That's why I think, to drop bows completely from our roster is a mistake, because we have no answer to these bows. They can literally just sit there and free cast. What are you going to do? Hit them with an ice? I mean, yeah, maybe. Fire mages. Our fire mages are not particularly good at hitting them. So the feedback from this war on this particular gate was we're getting killed by the bows in the back, right? I remember it very clearly. So like here we have no answer, and that's what I mean, right? So it's all great and it sounds great. Okay, we're building pressure this way. It's great, right? But the reality is this is what happens on the gate, right? They might have bows on top. They might be jumping from the top with detonates. They might be simply better on the gate itself. The rangers we have outside are not hitting on top of the walls. It could be a combination of all these things. So you kind of need to virtually adapt in a way, right? So for example, if the feedback would come saying, okay, it's very difficult on A, there's lots of bows on the gate that are just killing us, then for me it would be pretty clear, okay, it's kind of a hopeless situation there. So we spent a lot of time in me trying to understand what was happening. Maybe I should have just walked there or run there myself to find out. But for example, if I know that it's a hopeless situation, then we just keep some people here, just enough people to keep them staying there. We don't need people who particularly will achieve much. And then all the others can rotate through the gates which are free, through back, through front, wherever. And to me that's a lot better value than wasting a lot of time here getting killed by bows. Don't know. Is Rio in the call? Oh, he'll respond, don't worry, we'll see. Yeah, I mean he has 8.7k health, so yeah. Yeah, feels a bit low. Yeah, so here we lost the pressure. They were pushing, they were wiped us mostly inside and pushing us in the gate, and some fires jumped from behind as well. So we got clapped super hard on this gate. So I think for our future wars, the way I'm expecting them to go is, okay, we're not necessarily going to try to force or synchronize the push. It's most likely going to be, okay, this gate is clear, or this gate is free to push. Okay, this gate we wiped. This gate it's even, but they're hitting us from top with bows. You know, that's the kind of calls that should happen, and then we make a decision where it's the easiest place to push through. Because once a gate is open to push through, the main aim is to really just get inside and stay inside. You know, that's the number one objective, and then it's to capture the point, right? But if you're not inside, you can't. There's a zero chance you can capture the point. Yeah, absolutely. Well, ideally it should be 2 or 3, right? Because that person might be dead. Ce facciamo? De ce non mi già giocare?
Clocks. Nut clocks, Daddy. Nut clocks. Daddy, nut clocks.
That's good.
Nut clocks.
Clocks. That's the kind of effect we should aim to have.
What's that, Daddy?
What's what?
It's a clock.
Yeah, I mean we did well, but like I said, the problem with the C push is that we pull back too much on the road.
Is he lonely?
Hmm?
So lonely.
Yeah,
Cats, Daddy. Cat.
yeah, exactly. They hesitated.
No, other bear, Daddy. No, other bear.
For the bear.
Yep.
And on A as well. But that must have been a little domino effect from B. No, I mean on the A point. On the A point. Ispina. Ce faci? De ce nu mergem la culcare? Mergem la bed?
Yes. Mommy.
Hai la bed.
Good night then. Bye bye.
Okay, so that's pretty much this war. So shall we move to the next one? Or any other points? Anything else we can learn from this particular one that I missed? Yeah, and that's why I said, you know, that's the problem when some of the groups are weaker. When I mean they're weaker, you know, they're not coordinated, they don't practice together, there's no communication, so that means most of the time that team won't be together. Yeah. So God knows where they were. You know, they could have been in the bushes, they could have been dead. They could Could have been naked, who knows, right? And besides me physically going and looking for them on the battlefield, I'll never know, because a lot of those teams don't record. Goshinator recorded though, so I can watch his maybe. Okay, let me just skip through the actual start. So this was, I think, the last attack we had, Katarskis against Unleashed. So I thought we'd watch these two attacks and then we watch the defenses, rather than switch between attacks and defenses. Hopefully in half an hour, why? Yeah, we'll go a bit quicker through these. So this was a slightly different strategy, right? We were full B push. We're supposed to go through the two side gates, and it went pretty well, right? So you can see how much pressure we got here on the left flank from these groups, and they hesitated, right? Because they sent one group there, and then they started coming back here, and basically our rotation just caught them while they were trying to retreat. So that was really good. Obviously our weak point is the right of the point, right? Because we have 4 groups, 3, 4, 7, 8 here, but this is the top right is basically their safe zone. We don't really have pressure there. We're kind of giving up that quadrant in order to be able to control the others a bit better. Yeah, and that's why I put 4 groups on the back right, because my hope is that they spread a little bit along this line, more or less, to try to counter that that flanking maneuver. Just to say, here we clamped too hard, right? There's only 2 or 3 enemies, and we had 6 people clamp. Okay, a few more, right? But we were clumped, and they were around the clump, just hitting us. So it's a very bad trade. I mean, you can see. Okay, so most of us got to half HP and then we spread. Okay, and we lost 3 people in that engage. Yeah, so I went through this before, right, in other videos, right? If you're a healer in these particular groups, okay, it might be safer for you there. I'm not sure why we lost pressure on the left side of the point so quickly. You saw we had pretty good pressure to start with, and then we lost it. But yeah, it's kind of hit and miss. You need to judge the situation yourself, right? But as we said, you know, we got outflanked, and all the guys who should have been a bit more spread, they clumped here. So for them it's a very good trade, right? They sent all the hunters behind on the healers. They were hitting us in the clump without them sacrificing much. They only had 2 bruises, right? So every time I say, okay, we only need 2 bruises to hold the clump, this is what I mean, right? So if you see the enemies, what they did here, this is what we're trying to achieve whenever we do clump fights. You only need 2 bruises to control the clump, and then everybody else hits it from a little distance. And you can do that even as a bruiser. Yeah, we all know you can use your Maelstrom from a little bit of a distance. You don't need to be literally with the axe in the throat of your enemy. Okay, I'm gonna go a bit quickly through this, because I think the only learning points we can have from this is really the beginning, where we had some pressure. So here it was an AC push, so I called a split push. It was kind of okay. I think I wouldn't say we caught them necessarily by surprise, but we made their life a little bit difficult to start with. But ultimately, the reason why we lost these is simply because we were not winning the engages, right? So that's what I mean. It doesn't really matter what strategy we use if you don't win the engages where you are because of the play or how you play the club. It's going to be tough. Okay, so you can see, like in the last 5 seconds, this positioning really good, right? So you can see bruiser here, bruiser here, bruiser here, bruiser here. It's pretty good, right? Nobody's really clumped. People are controlling the area. Bruiser here, Hunter here, so pretty good positioning, right? IGVG here, just waiting. And then we fast forward 5 seconds later. You can see us all clumped. Again, they have 3 guys, we have 6 guys. Okay. And then of course they bomb us, right? Because they see that clump. So they just punish it, right? So they have people hitting, free casting from here, and some of the bruisers just jumping on us, right? And it's very easy for them to control that. You know, you need a few stun locks and bam, you just wipe that clump. The reason why we don't win those kind of engages is because we clump on the clump, right? And we don't have people outside the clump hitting it. That's the #1 reason. Okay, let's skip through this. Let me just change to voice activation, otherwise it's a bit harder for me now that my daughter stopped screaming. Right. So I'm just going to go through a couple more engages in this particular attack war. Yeah, again, this was okay, right? But you can see some people are way too far back. Like, there's no reason really to be there. Some people are even here, way too far back. Okay, if you want to be safe, you should be on the left side of the point. Yeah, so Totoro, he's a tank, you know. He was probably trying to help. Then Votari, you were probably trying to help. Vulcan, you were probably trying to help. Borchi was healing you. You know, let's see, will you kill somebody? No. You just clumped on top of each other and you get wiped. Yeah. Just... Yeah, but do you guys see this? Because it keeps happening over and over, right? So when I say these things, it's not because I'm a broken record. It's... Yeah, but you can see we clump on 2 people. We clump on 2 people. They clump on 6 people, and they punish us so hard for it, because we only had 6 people and we all clumped, right? So that means there's no escape. There's nobody else to help you around you, you know. And even if you manage to survive, you need to use all your escapes. You know, as a bruiser, you use your charge, your whatever, your pot cleanse. You're basically chucking every single defensive you can just to survive that. But we still will lose at least half of those people caught in that. You do, but you need to clump on the right things, right? So let me just go back to show it. So if you let me just show you the previous example, because that's kind of the best example we have. And the best way for me to show it is to show how the enemy played it. So we'll be somewhere around here. Yeah. So we will come soon. This is where I praised everybody's positioning. I think this positioning was pretty good. A bit further. Yeah, so this play is really good, right? You can see it's really good, right? Kind of spread. We only have 3 people, you know, holding 6 of them. So that's fine. And that's great. But you kind of are, right? You were just a bit scared for your life. But these are kind of good trades, right? It's just a bit unlucky that we lacked a bit of damage. Okay, so this is where it starts, right? So this is where I said, okay, our position was pretty good here. And you can see we kind of clump really hard on this, right? So people join this particular clump for literally like 3 enemies. You can see there's 3 enemies, right? This guy is just running outside the clump virtually, and we have 1, 2, 3 enemies, and we have 5 or 6 people. Okay, so 5 versus 3. And the problem is we clumped while all the guys are around. Yeah, they're here, some here, and you see there will be some bruisers just jumping, right? So they're basically spotting a clump of us, and they're just clumping on top of it, right? Because we use all our skills to kill those 3 guys. If we manage to kill them, amazing, right? But a lot of the times you don't, because they're just bruisers and they can dodge a lot of stuff. So that's kind of a bad trade, right? As an IGVG, ideally you should do what they did, right? You see a clump of 6 people and your guys jump on it. Okay, they're clumping here, hit them hard here, you know, and then you jump and put your Oblivion down on that. Not the other way around. You don't join with 5 other mates on 3 guys. That's a really bad trade. Unless you can wipe them really easily, right? If they're healers or mages, you can do that. Great, you just wipe them quickly. But you can't do that to other bruisers, right? It's super hard, and I'm pretty sure everybody can agree with that. And not just you, like everybody did. But you jumped. Yeah, exactly, because you get clumped. Yeah, you're clumping as 6 people, and all they need to do is just throw a few stuns, and you're all stuck, and you're all body blocking each other because of 3 enemies. You're gonna have gravity sucking you in. If you're lucky, you get some vines on you, and that's it. It's GG. I mean, what are you gonna do? It's 6 of you. You're all clumped. There's no other friends outside the clump in the near vicinity that could help you. Your healers might be pressured as well, so it's just really bad trade. Okay, so I'm not gonna go too much through this attack video to try to go through some defensives, but you got the gist of it. Okay, what happened and what were the kind of things we could have done better. Against Unleashed, it's more or less winning these fights, right? It's more about winning the fights rather than strategy. And whereas with Ascend, we have a lot more leeway because they're not always playing necessarily consistently good, so you can take a little bit of advantage of that. Okay, let's watch this last engage just to get an idea what happened on A. I mean, I was on A, although I think I was on A just because I somehow managed to survive and it was the only place I could run to. Very similar, yeah. This is actually not as bad, right? Because you can see there's 2 clumps, right? We have about 6 people and they have about 7 or 8, right? So that's kind of a good-ish trade. But they have so many other people outside the clump, right? So all these people will be reinforcing that. Whereas we have, what, 1 healer here? I don't know if it's Bilas. 1 healer died here. And maybe we have a couple of people here. So clearly not enough to win this kind of engage. Yeah. Yeah, so you can see here it was simply a number thing, but that clump trade was actually the right idea. Okay, that's a good value clump trade. It's just too bad we didn't have people around it to try to reinforce that. It's a bit like rugby, you know, when they make a clump, you know, and there's people from the back coming and reinforcing it. It's a little bit like that. That's kind of what you want to achieve. Obviously, you don't have healers in rugby, and you don't have hunters hunting the healers, but you get the gist of it. Okay, so this was the Unleashed attack. I think from here on we were out of sync. We tried to regroup a few times at the war camp. Not a great deal of success. Defense. I'm not gonna go to the Ascend one, or shall we go to the Ascend one? I think a lot of these are the same. Maybe it's not. 19.6 was yesterday. We had another defense, didn't we? against Trinity. Good night. Do we have a recording of that? No. Yeah, it's okay. No, I know, but we had another defense before that. Let me see. Let's see, Ostovich. Yeah, you want to go through it? Can you send me the link, Tammy? Tenth of June is what Tammy says. Maybe she got her date wrong. It's okay. Right, so this was interesting, right? The issue we had in this war, right? First of all, they're much closer to B. Second, we expected them to come to C or even to A. So we're not really prepared mentally that they will push to B. I think we reviewed this video before. I don't know whether we did it in a meeting like this, but basically straight away we hesitated. And they just pushed us super hard. Yeah, we discussed this, so we're not going to go again through it. Is this Gumi? This is Gumi. Is Gumi running like Minecraft graphics? I think so. Okay. Let's see, because we've actually never watched any Dex players or Hunter Group players POVs. I think you called here, Gumi, that they're going with the whole roster to A, and I said, okay, just hold B. Just in that, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is what I was debating with myself after the war, right? When it comes to defenses, it's kind of... You want to play where the enemies don't want you to play, right? So we kind of don't want to play as much on the point. We kind of want to fight them here, you know, in the bushes and in the forests, you know, because that's good for us. That means they're not pressuring the point. And in retrospect, maybe we should have just gone all balls out and just sort of held them there as a first line, and then all our response come here. But then again, if you're getting wiped a lot, right? So let's say if we push them like this and we get wiped here, it might be domino effect where they can just run on the point, and by the time we regroup they have too much pressure, and then it's a domino effect to lose the points. Anyway, that's just really for me to debate, but I think in retrospect, whenever we're gonna play or in future, whenever we're gonna play the defenses, I think we're gonna focus a lot more in delaying fighting on the point, and fighting on the point where we have to, right? When they manage to put the pressure on the point and push to the point itself. Yeah. Yeah. It's not particularly accurate. Most of the teams actually fight or try to fight on B as last. It's true, but that doesn't happen very often. So as a defender, first of all, if you have people on the gates, right, like bowmen, or if you have people blowing the horns, there's a lot wider area, right? So for you as a defender to run to the point, you can run around. You kind of want a wider area as a defender to be able to send you reinforcements quicker. Most of the territories, maybe not Reekwater, B is actually a little bit stronger closer to the defenders compared to the side points. So I've seen a lot of videos of lots of the other companies who reinforce B as the last one. In the past, it used to be only side points as the last point choice, but I think recently it's not particularly happening. If you watch any Ascend war, they always prioritize B last. Yeah. Yeah, of course, but so to address all the points in order. So first of all, this has been brought up by other people as well, where they say that there's confusion about what should be done, because some people mute Discord, right, because they can't listen to two comms at the same time. So kind of want some feedback from the groups which are quite vocal about how you're running it or why is there confusion, how we can deal with it. But to quickly touch upon the other points, right? So, yeah, we definitely have to mirror to try to do a better play. The reason why we play Quadrant now is actually in our advantage, and you see the points are raised about the clump fights and how very often we just pick wrong or bad clump fights, where we just clump on 3 people and things like that. So imagine we do that at a bigger scale, right? We have 30 people clumping on 10. It's like, yeah, if you don't pull it off, we're going to lose half of those 30 people, automatically in the counter bomb. So playing Quadrant, basically it's almost like gambling less at the moment for us. So it's in our advantage if we don't manage to play the clump fights really well or pick the right clump fights. If you look at teams like Dauntless used to be, or even Unleashed, but Dauntless more, they used to zerg super hard and clump super hard, but they would pick the right clumps, right? They would see some mages and whatever, and they would just send 10 people in that area, and they didn't care if they clump, because they knew whoever they would catch in that area, they would all die, right? But we're not able to do that, or not as often as we want to be, and yeah, so Quadrant helps a bit more. Any feedback in terms of comms and why there's confusions? Because obviously we need a lot of coordination, right? So if I make a call, even in the attacks between the gates and things like that, there needs to be pretty swift reaction, and we need to make sure everybody sort of follows. Do we think maybe there's too much comms in group phase? Are the people who are listening not able to listen? Or what can I do, or what can we do as an army to make that better? Because without it, it's going to be super tough, right? Because if we need to coordinate between gates, and if we need to rotate between gates, you know, if we don't have that information, and if there's no back and forward between different groups and me or whoever shot calling, it's going to be super tough. So it's not going to work really well. The other option is just to leave everybody to decide autonomously where they want to go, right? And then I don't call anything. I'm like, B's clear. So I kind of leave it for all the groups to figure out what to do. Any suggestions, any feedback, any thoughts on that? Yeah, keep it brief. You have 30 seconds, and then we need to finish this. Yeah, I agree. Anybody else on this particular point in terms of communication and people getting less confused? I tried. So if you look at this specific roster, usually the people who are on the top, they are the people who are supposed to be team leaders in those particular groups. But it didn't really work that way. I think every group naturally sort of either everybody just calls. Like if you look at 3 and 4, I don't think, maybe Gas Mask is leading a bit more. I don't know. You guys maybe know better. Yeah. So it's a little bit like that. So they either get assigned or they naturally find one, right? Ultimately, there needs to be one person sort of directing the group. There's no way everybody can just shout everything, unless they're just on top of each other all the time, and then it's fine. Yeah. 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 And then I can kick Gas Mask's ass at the end, right? If he made the wrong call. Yeah. No, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Because yeah, and to be honest, that's virtually all we need. Because I always said I need to call less bombs and less clumps because it's like it's bad, right? If I have to call a big bomb, that means we're kind of fucked up, right? Either we're dominating or we're fucked up. And let's be realistic. At the moment, we're more often in the fucked up situation. For me, there's no reason with a quadrant to call bombs, right? Your quadrant should be, you guys should be calling your own bomb in your own group. You know, you shouldn't need like 30 people to hit that space. I think so too. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's a good suggestion. Yeah. And that's how it should be, right? I should be getting feedback back saying, "Oh, we can help," or "Oh, top right is free. Can we move to back right?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, go for it." And things like that. It should be a little bit backwards and forwards. We don't do it like other companies where it's only me talking and everybody listens, and then at the end I figure out who listened and who didn't, and who didn't we punish them. We don't do it that way. I know other companies do it that way, but we don't. So as long as you guys are happy with that, I'm pretty happy. Yeah. See ya. I mean, if it works for you that way, it's fine as well. As long as it works for you for the group, right? Because like obviously, Naya said for their group it doesn't work, but if you guys are saying for your group it works, it's great. For me, as long as it works. Be- yeah, yeah. So it's up to you, right? If four people want to mute it and one listens, that's fine by me. If you feel like the main person leading that group cannot always listen, or maybe he misses it, and others want to listen just to confirm, that's fine by me as well. So more or less, I'll leave it to each group leader to kind of decide that. I'm not gonna really make a rule for everybody, but whatever you decide in your group, it needs to work. Okay, so there shouldn't be confusions between members in that 5-man group where there should be, and things like that. And if there's confusion, whatever like Gas Mask in Team 3 says, you guys should follow, and then I can take it out with him at the end. Um, anyway, to yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely, yeah, of course, of course. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so defense, guys. Obviously, we lost. Just to try to sort of sum this up. So we lost the points pretty quickly. We kind of saw why. Fourth phase. I think B gate was okay to begin with. We kind of held it pretty well. ANC was still up at this phase, so I just assumed people were fighting outside, but in reality I think the main force of the attackers was on B gate. This particular phase that we can see on Gummy Bear's stream, I think is really good, right? So you were killing in the back, you were kind of killing everybody. But you can see on A gate there's like literally nobody outside. Okay, so I presume all these people who are here, you guys were supposed to hold A gate, and you were just killing around your gate whoever was inside, right? Okay, so I take that as a yes. Now I was saying that I was trying to figure out in this defense war where the A group, A gate groups were, right? So I was just assuming the guys fighting here, they were supposed to be here, while we're supposed to actually fight outside while your gate was up. But anyway. Yeah, so this was a pretty bad defense. No, you guys were on B. I'm talking about the groups on A. Yeah, so like you can see, let me see. Can't really look up the defense, but the defense plan very quickly. But we're supposed to have 3 teams here, right? So 15 people. And we have 4. Okay, and literally this was the first push. Right, so they were not outside. We established that. So there's only 4 people. Okay, so that's pretty bad. And I know some people are fighting here in the back, but yeah, that's what I was trying to remember. No, I know. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4 on B, that's for sure, and then I had, I think 5, 6, 7 on one side and 8, 9, 10 on the other, or something like that. Okay, might have been slightly different, but either way, if you remember where your group was supposed to be, like we can see, it's Crash. You're from 5, so Crash is from 5. Frank is from 7. Thoram is from 5. Sorry, from 6. Okay, so probably we had 5, 6, 7 here. Okay, realistically. But regardless, we only have 4 people. There's no ice here. There's not a semicircle here like we're supposed to, right? That's what the briefing was about. You should let them here and bomb them in the gate.
Making a quick escape.
Just okay.
Went to bed. I'm going to do my exercises and check my eye quickly.
Okay.
Oh, you too.
Did you eat your dinner?
Yes, thank you very much. Well, I eventually got to take them in cookies all the time.
No, I know, but you had group 6 and 7 with you. You should have, right? No, 7 was rotating on the back, right? So basically the plan was, if there's pressure on the back, you rotate. So you should have still had group 6 with you, and we had 4 people. Even with that argument, we had 4 out of 10. It's not good. That's what I'm saying. It's pretty bad, right? Because we're not fighting outside. So first of all, you should have fought outside while your gate was up. And then once they broke that gate, we didn't have enough people. Even if the argument is, okay, the team that was able to rotated. And you can see they're only pushing with 10 people. But 4 of you cannot hold them. So they literally just run through. Anyway. Anyway, let's move on. Yeah, for sure. But here we yeah, here they had pressure on B, right? So we couldn't leave. Yeah. So you know, the people I see more or less on the point. I think Dusty, you know, he wasn't on his gate. He was in group 6, so he should have been on this gate. Yeah. So basically, in a nutshell, right? And I'm not. It's just because we see your POV. We can have a look at another one, but basically, the situation on B wasn't great, right? And some people might have just gone there to try to help, but what that virtually meant is that 10 people just ran through and they put additional pressure from here, and 4 of you couldn't do jack shit about it. You can see some of them jumped up. Yeah, I mean your POV will be B gate, right? I was more interested to what happened on the side gate, because I asked in the war as well what's happening on A, because I looked towards A and we virtually had nobody there, and I could just see them running through. Yeah. Yeah, but this is what I'm trying to say. So the first priority is to control your gate, right? That's the number one priority. There shouldn't be people running through, and even if you leave one ice, just to put the ice down, while you know the team can go back to your gate, you know that's the kind of play we should be doing at the forward phase. You know, it shouldn't be a play where we just, you know, people are in the wrong positions and the gates are just left. It's almost like abandoning your positions. Let's just watch one more POV very quickly, just for that particular forward phase. So this is Instance VOD. I actually watched it, and Instant had some pretty good plays in this war as a bruiser. Probably that's why you got voted as one of our best bruisers. Yeah, you can see the positioning, dodging, not sitting excessively into clumps. So yeah, I don't know if you shared it with other people, but it's worth sharing it just for the bruisers to see. I mean, we're gonna go through this in the coaching sessions for the bruisers. But basically, this is the B POV, and like Kostovich said, we controlled the first push pretty well. And here, because I saw A and C closed, I just assumed people were fighting outside. I'm not sure what happened on C, but on A we could see what happened. Yeah, on C very similar. So if you look here, C virtually has only one person, so virtually all of them run through. I mean, yeah, some of our guys probably turned to the point to help on the point, but still we should have had way more presence there. So even if those groups that were on those on let's say the C gate would have just rushed back to the point to help it, I would have expected more than 3 people on this flank here. The quality is not very good, or is it just me? It's on 180. Is it good? Yeah. Yeah, so this was the first engagement. It was pretty good. Well, what I wanted you personally to do here is pressure these healers, and you're probably doing this now, but Ikis is doing it really well as well. So if you have the opportunity, these healers cannot just sit in the door here like Rio was doing in our attack and just heal inside. they need pressure. So these guys cannot free cast, and if you're a bruiser and you have the opportunity, you should always go on these guys. And you guys are doing it, right? So it's great, and that's probably why we won the first engage and we wiped them, just because we had that little bit of pressure on those healers. So that's so important. And as you saw in some of our other wars, you can do that with bruisers here, or you can do it from guys jumping from the top. Okay, so there's two ways to do it, but these guys, they cannot free cast. If they free cast, it's almost like you're giving up the gate completely. So for future defenses, you know, that's pretty much what we need to focus on. You know, getting some people on top of B, making sure they can jump down, and this should happen more or less on all the other gates. So we kind of need to refine a little bit what we do. So basically, when I say okay, we're gonna fight outside while your gate is up, what I mean is bruisers and everybody who can handle the heat should be down, and all the mages and healers and bows should be all on top. And then even once they push inside, you know, you just jump on the healers behind rather than try to hit them from inside on the gate. Do you guys understand my point? Yeah. So just to kind of clarify it, and this is probably the last point. So in the next wars, when we do defenses, hopefully we won't forget by then. But let me find a good maybe gummy bears. This is Goshinate. Okay, let's see Goshinators. Okay, so this is a good view. So if the enemy is outside the gate, like there, I want all our mages and range here on top. So basically we'll call them range players. All the rangers at top, hitting down. And our bruisers are either pushing out on them or just controlling them here. Okay? And if they push through the gate and we manage to stop them there, then all the guys from the top, you should just jump down and hit them from the back. Okay, that's basically what they do in our wars. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. So the point I want to make is the way we defend right now is we kind of position ourselves like this, some of us, right? Like I said, we're missing people from the groups that are supposed to be there, but their backline is free, right? There's no pressure on them. We saw it on B, like we had 3 or 4 bruisers that pushed out. That was freaking amazing, right? But basically we're just positioning ourselves and everybody's just hitting here, right? So we have rangers here, position like that, and somehow you're hoping to kill them without pressuring their healers at all, who are just sitting outside, healers and mages. So it's kind of an even fight, right? So as a defender, we're giving up an advantage. You know, we have the circles, which are our casters, hitting the clump here, and they have their circles who are free casting, hitting the clump there. So whoever sort of gets a bit more pressure, whoever gets more kills, eventually wins that particular engagement. With the other strat, if you have guys on top, you're kind of plummeting on them, you know, wasting their cooldowns, and when they push in, you catch them here, or you stop them here, and then you can put pressure on their back straight away, right? So it's kind of a different kind of play, right? So basically bruisers are fighting bruisers here, and then range are fighting range outside, more or less. Okay, and it's kind of a completely different play. You're not playing who's gonna kill this club. You're playing class versus class, and that's what our enemies are doing to us, right? So whenever, you know, some of you are saying, oh, the bows are killing us from the top, oh, they're jumping down on us with detonates, that's what they're doing, right? and it's pretty difficult as an attacker to defend against that, because you can't really hit them very well on top, and they can literally jump on you with detonates. So for future wars in defense, that's what we're gonna do. Anyway, any final comments? It's taken a bit longer. The war video reviews, did you guys find them useful? Was they useful information? Huh? Yeah, I couldn't today. It was really busy. Yeah. Yeah. I know. I'm tired too. Yeah. No, I don't think we'll give up. We just need to... It's basically like an operational break where we need to consolidate the roster, understand where we are, see what the next steps are, try to fix all these things that we spoke about, and I think all of us can fix it. The other thing we could do is we could do them after every war, sort of the following day, rather than try to do 3 or 4 at the same time. That would make them a bit more succinct and quicker. And if you guys are happy, we'll do that. Because otherwise, you know, the only other way to do it, if I do a chunk of 3 or 4 wars at the same time, is to literally just select a few sections which are important to just get some points across, but that might not be as useful as watching the whole war. Yeah. Well, these are hunter groups because they said they might find it easier to push through B as well. I think I finished what I was gonna say, unless somebody has other points to make about roster. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I had the roster of Trinity and I had the roster of Division in terms of composition they ran, and I need to try to find them. I think Gasmask, you sent me the one from Trinity, if I'm not mistaken. Was it somebody else then? I will find it. The bottom line is that we're not particularly far in terms of the roster composition. I think Sangland made some very valid points. We're perhaps running a bit too many fire mages, and obviously we're not running bows really. I mean, we have 1 or 2 bows. we kind of have them, but they're bad, and they've been always bad, right? So every time I put 4 or 5 bows in a group, it's kind of like everybody plays solo, and then in the end we try to do some debrief, and people are like, oh, the enemy bows were better, you know, they coordinated, and I'm like, okay, well, why don't you guys coordinate? Yeah, good idea. And then 5 wars later, okay, how's it going? Well, yeah, we're still dying. The army doesn't have pressure. Okay, fine. You know, so we always struggle, right? I mean, realistically, the only bow that we have that's, you know, reasonably good is Kapi, and he's not doing wars at the moment, right? So Tammy is okay, but yeah, I don't think she's confident enough either in terms of how much she can do as a bow. And all the other bows, like, have you ever seen Faye 05? You know, they're just looking for wars, and they're not good. Yeah. So you know, like, let's have a look through all the bows or people that are running bows. Okay. Yeah, jump out. So we have Faye, John Bright. I don't know if he's still active. Winsford's gone. Vit Parkit. I mean, have you seen him perform well as a bow? Yeah. Gummy. Maybe Gummy will do better. But you know, there was a phase where we had like 14 bows in our roster. I mean, literally, like, everybody was playing bows, right? And like, none of them were good. And I think we tried to make a bow team, I think 6 or 7 times, and every time I kind of, this is kind of the experience and feedback I keep getting. So I personally lost hope, unless somebody can see a better way to do it, or yeah, pretty much. And you know, like, Sangla made his points, right? I'm gonna show you his message, so it's not, you know, I'm not saying everything he said is true, but he basically said, is it blurred? Let me make it bigger. Can I make it bigger? Anyway, I'll read it out. Okay, so he said his daughter's playing a part in, like, okay, you don't need to know that. So he said, drop spears and ice, nobody uses it these days. Even Farmer John is on greatsword spear. Okay, so yeah, that's kind of a valid point, right? I haven't seen many spear ice. I don't even know if 1ER still uses it. Move to greatsword throughout medium, paired with either hatchet spear, IG. Okay, I didn't understand the sentence. This means melee assassins going greatsword medium, greatsword hatchet medium. Unleash, Teabag, Ascend and Trinity don't run light, it's all medium. Makes it easier to stay alive longer. All problem but need a bow group. Yeah, we discussed that. 3 bows, medium melee assassin, medium to defend and push other decks with a heal and offer crazy kills. Okay. Drop fire staffs IGs, except maybe 1-2, have very little effect on wars. Okay. IGBB would be better options. Grenades can be put under maelstroms. Yeah. Lastly, need bruises to kill more, but you have said this for a while. Okay. So for sure. Yeah. No, but I don't disagree with the IG statement, but you know, would it not be better to pair them with BB, for example? Because fire mages, I can kind of understand why. I think there was a lot of hype with the previous patch about fire mages and this and that, and I just can't see them being super good, even in defenses. We have 5 at the moment. Yeah, possibly, right? So that's the question. Should they play maybe BBIs? Should they play? I don't know. Do we need to run that many? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Gosh is IGVG now, right? So yeah, so we're kind of out there. We don't have that many. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, partially the reason why we clump hard is because we're running, more bruises in specific groups, right? And that's why we could see it clearly in those videos. But equally so, like other rosters, they run quite a bit of bruises too, but their bruises just play a little bit smarter. They don't just clump on top of each other. And I think a lot of it is we clump on top of each other to compensate by the fact that we can't kill those kind of targets, so we just try to throw more bodies, and naturally we just pick wronger or worse fights and worse trades than our enemies. So partially it's not just the people or the players, it could be the composition as well that's kind of not helping. BBIs, I need to have a look through the roster to see if people actually still play that in our roster. Yeah, officially we finished the meeting, guys, so feel free to do whatever.